My name is Dr Amandeep Grewal. I qualified as a GP approximately 15 years ago from Imperial College, London. It was where I actually graduated, and love general practice since. I work in London and in Buckinghamshire and Berkshire, and thoroughly enjoy what I'm doing. So prediabetes is a condition where the body starts to lose its ability to process blood sugar. Now it's not, as the name suggests, it's pre-diabetes rather than outright diabetes. But what you start to find is that within the bloodstream, blood sugar levels start to rise above what is considered healthy and normal. And whether this is your eyes, your heart, your lungs, or any other organ in the body, your liver, kidneys, those increases in blood sugar start to cause problems. As the blood sugar starts to overspill into the body's tissues and organs, it takes fluid with it, and that starts to cause small amounts of swelling. It can start to cause problems with the way those organs actually function, and just generally with the way the body conducts its normal bodily functions. Prediabetes can occur in more than one way. One of the commonest ways is that the individual, if they've been having too many carbohydrates or sugary meals over the course of weeks, months, and years, the pancreas, which is the organ that actually controls blood sugar and secretes hormones to regulate the blood sugar, it starts to lose its ability to do that. It's been stressed for too long, over a long period. It starts to lose the ability to control blood sugar, and then the blood sugar starts to rise because the amount of hormones that the pancreas is required to produce just aren't there in circulating levels in the bloodstream, on an adequate basis. Also, there is a genetic element. So if somebody does have relatives with diabetes in the family, particularly parents, so if either parent's diabetic, there is more of a tendency to have a problem with actually processing blood sugar as we all get older. Now, the way we live our lives does affect that. So how much exercise we do, our body weight, how much carbohydrates or sugars that we actually consume, they all play a part in how well we process sugar, and what our likelihood of developing prediabetes and then diabetes is. So that's something that we need to look at on an individual basis. It's a very simple thing to diagnose. So there's two ways of diagnosing prediabetes. The one's a simple blood test. Okay, so you can either look at somebody's individual fasting or random blood sugar, regardless of when they've had a meal. There is a test called HbA1c, which is a test which gives us an idea of what your blood sugar has been doing over the previous 3 months. There's also a urine test that one can do to check whether there's glucose there. That tends to be more useful for diabetes itself, though. So pre-diabetes, it being a little bit more subtle and not being as severe as full diabetes, it's easier to pick up on blood tests. So you can't permanently reverse pre-diabetes. Once your body's at that stage, you can't actually put it back into the completely normal stage. However, controlling it is something that many people do very, very well. So as I mentioned before, regular exercise, a minimum of 2.5 hours per week, brisk walking and above, regulating your body weight, limiting the amount of carbohydrates and blood sugars that you have. All of these things, if we pay attention to those, you can bring your blood sugars back down to what we would call non-diabetic, as in inverted commas, normal levels. And also after meals, where you would find that the blood sugar would drift up above what we'd call normal levels. That's something that we can limit by looking at what we're having in our meals and trying to avoid that happening. Once you've been diagnosed with pre-diabetes, it means you're in a situation where if you were to become indisciplined on the weight, exercise, or diet front, you're likely to start drifting up again. Okay, but if you stay disciplined, the likelihood is you'll stay in good control. Prediabetes becomes diabetes when, if you take one of the specific tests that we use, the HbA1c, once you go from a score of 47, that's the top limit of prediabetes, into 48 or above, that's where we would technically say somebody's become diabetic. There's different numbers that we use for a fasting or a random blood sugar. Okay, so there are hard and fast boundaries for that. It actually becomes diabetes when, let's say we took the first example where the pancreas is struggling to keep up. If the pancreas has been struggling to keep up and then the blood sugar levels actually go beyond what the pancreas can actually keep in the pre-diabetic range, you will become diabetic. And that's essentially how it happens. It's just, okay, the difference between pre-diabetes and diabetes is literally just where your numbers are and whether the sugars have gone high enough in the bloodstream. In underlying conditions, we're talking about ones that would increase your risk if you were to get COVID-19. Now, diabetes certainly is, and there's a number of others. For example, if somebody's already got significant diagnoses like lung disease, heart disease, etc. Pre-diabetes technically doesn't put you into one of those high-risk categories. For example, the ones that we use when we work out what priority somebody should be in terms of COVID vaccinations, etc. It will increase your risk though. Now, how much it increases your risk really depends on other factors as well. Are you obese? What's your ethnic background? Are there other factors that are actually affecting your likelihood of not being able to combat COVID-19 as much as the next person? What's your dietary intake? How healthy is your lifestyle? There's lots of factors that come into it. So pre-diabetes, technically it doesn't put you in that high risk category, but it will start to push you along the spectrum of low risk to high risk. So obviously if we can avoid it, it's always best to try and avoid it.